If agape is not flowing naturally to neighbors without condition or expectation of return, the problem is often that we are unable to love ourselves in a healthy way. People who inwardly despise themselves, especially if that animosity is unacknowledged or covered up with bravado, will usually project that animosity outward onto others. They become the problem that explains our negative emotions, fears, or real-life problems. They then must be suppressed. They are why we are unhappy and dissatisfied and always feel threatened. When they are dealt with, removed, or kept in their place, then everything will be as we dream it to be. This is, of course, the opposite of the truth. Our stunted selves are the problem, but we don't see that, so we put the energy that could go into love into stamping down what is true in favor of masks, slogans, and the ultimate fruit stunter, creating enemies instead of neighbors. Mature self-love can be a challenge. Once, in a particularly difficult time in my life, I was sitting on my sofa talking to a friend whom I trusted. In the course of telling her what was happening, I started blaming myself for everything, criticizing my every action and motivation. After I had been at that a while, and a bit of my pain energy was spent, she touched me on my shoulder and said, "Stop being so mean to my friend." It took my breath away in that moment to realize how easily the "as yourself" part of the great love commandment eludes me. In looking at the summary of the law, we may wonder, was Jesus fearful that we loved ourselves too much and that we needed to up our game with our neighbors? I can see that. Or was the command really for 3 loves in order of primacy? God first, then neighbor, and self following behind? As is true with so much of Scripture, the Spirit guides us to hear in the words exactly what each of our souls needs most. If we are not sure about God, the passage calls us to try loving God anyway. If we are harsh and judgmental of neighbors and always making excuses for our own behavior, we are invited to look at that. And if we wouldn't dare treat others with the same disdain with which we often treat ourselves, the text calls us to make a change. Obviously, love of God, neighbor, and self are not 3 separate loves from which to choose the easiest and most palatable.